Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video I'm going to be outlining exactly why I believe Bitcoin is going to go to over $100,000 in the next 5 years. In this video, we're going to be outlining everything that needs to happen on the short term, medium term, and long term for Bitcoin to hit that price target before 2025. And I'm also going to be showing you some fundamental reasons why I believe that is actually a conservative price target. This video is going to be the first part of a 3-part series on long-term technical and fundamental analysis. This first video on a 5-year price prediction, the next video, tomorrow's video, on a 10-year price prediction, and the following video being on a 20-year price prediction. In these videos, we're not only going to be talking about technicals, but also long-term fundamentals, what kind of developments I'd like to see in the space of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and where I think we will be during those time frames. Guys, I really do believe Bitcoin can reach $100,000 within the next 5 years, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how that might happen and what the landscape of Bitcoin is going to look like as we approach that price. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. It helps to get these videos ranked, and I would really appreciate it. And guys, if you're new here, consider subscribing. We're still trying to get to 30,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Because of Christmas and me being away for a few days, we might not do it, but let's still try anyway. But anyway, guys, without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Guys, we're going to dive into fundamentals here in just a second, and in fact, most of this video is going to be fundamentals because really long-term analysis needs to be focused on fundamental developments. But first, let's start with some shorter-term technicals. First and foremost, guys, this is something that I haven't talked about a whole lot on the channel, but I want to bring to your attention: the 20-monthly exponential moving average. As you guys can see, this is a relatively important moving average on Bitcoin, and it seems that whenever Bitcoin gets above this moving average, a Bitcoin bull market has then started. As you can see in the entire history of Bitcoin, we've had 3 major bull markets, and all 3 of those were preceded by a bullish cross above that 20-monthly exponential moving average. On the flip side, though, 2 times in history, right here and right here, Bitcoin has fallen below this moving average and has resulted in around a 50% drop in both cases. And guys, as you can see right now, Bitcoin is sitting above that 20-monthly exponential moving average once again, and we've actually had a couple of wicks come down below it to test it and see if we can hold it. This is an important level of support, and it means that we need to maintain our monthly bottom here of around $7,000 or risk Bitcoin falling all the way down to our next levels of support, which are the 20 weekly simple moving average and the 50 monthly simple moving average. That moving average being right here and our other moving average being right here. Both of those have price targets of around $5,000 to $5,300, which is where our bearish price targets came from. Furthermore, guys, I want to point out one more thing here on the shorter term technicals. Bitcoin has a tendency to try and test the 50 weekly moving average right here when it is in a bull and a bear market. As you guys can see, we tested support back over here, fell below it, tested as resistance, and then fell even farther. And in this bear market, Bitcoin tested it as support, fell below it, and now it looks like we're testing it as resistance, and that could drive us down to the 200. The reason I'm bringing this stuff up, guys, is because one of the points I want to make in this video is that long-term technical analysis is not the same thing as short-term technical analysis, guys. Bitcoin can take several different paths to get to its ultimate price target of over $100,000. We could either crash to $5,000 first, or we could just rocket ship all the way up there in the next couple of months. 5 years is a very long time, as I'll be showing you here in just a second, and there are many different ways that Bitcoin can get to that price target. And guys, actually, let's go ahead and do the time frame analysis right now. I want to show you something. I want to show you how far away 2025 is. In fact, it's this vertical line over here that is conveniently already on the chart. If we take our measuring tool right over here and we look at how far away 2025 is, we're going to find that that's nearly 1,900 days from now, which is a very long time. As you guys can see, the all-time high of the previous bear market was only 730 days ago, less than 2.5 years ago, and 1,800 days ago, Bitcoin was trading at $287. We have a very long way to run. I want you guys to understand that because, like I said, it's important you understand that Bitcoin can go to $100,000 in multiple different ways. We can either fall first and rally, or we can rally now and then fall later and then rally again, or we can just keep rallying because of some major news story. There are a plethora of different paths that Bitcoin can take to get to $100,000, especially considering how much time we have to get there and how bullish the fundamental growth looks on Bitcoin over that long of a time frame. I mean, guys, seriously, the last bull market resulted in a 10,000% return. If we cut that by an order of magnitude and called that a 1,000% return, that's Bitcoin running to $100,000 right there. Nearly. So guys, that's really all I want to talk about on the technicals. Let's go ahead and dive into the fundamentals because, like I said, long term, it's not so much technical analysis that matters on Bitcoin when we're talking years into the future. It's actually more fundamentals because technicals can only predict so far. And as far as fundamentals are concerned, guys, luckily we have some really strong looking fundamentals on Bitcoin at the moment, and the growth of our fundamentals over the last 5 years is looking very bullish, and we can probably extrapolate that into the future 5 years and see a lot of growth therein. If we look over here at Bakkt's website, as you guys can see, we're looking at 2,300 contracts on our new futures market institutionally. Guys, remember, Bakkt is owned by ICE, which owns the New York Stock Exchange, worth over $20 trillion. There is a lot of money that is going to be flowing into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies over the next 5 years as a result of this development and many more that we'll be discussing here in just a second. The next 5 years are going to bring about growth, the likes of which Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies has never really seen, guys. A lot of people forget that the internet was not born in the 90s. The internet was born in the late 60s and early 70s. It took 20 or 30 years for the internet to even get to the point where we had dial-up, let alone another 20 years for the internet to get where we are now. And technically the internet, even though billions of people use it, is still experimental over 50 years after the concept was first starting to be developed. Bitcoin isn't even 11 years old yet, guys. January 3rd, which is like a week from now, will be the 11th birthday of Bitcoin. But understand, guys, the long-term analysis that we're doing here, guys, the next 5 year being long-term, that is not long-term. That is short-term analysis. In the grand scheme of things, it really is, because for Bitcoin to become what it was destined to become is going to take decades. And that's where Bakkt and other things like the stock-to-flow ratio come in. It's important that you understand some of these price predictions, some of these fundamentals, some of this growth is going to take a long time to happen. As for those fundamentals, though, guys, here are some of the big ones that I'm looking at. Like I said a second ago, Bakkt is a huge one. When Bakkt launched, it had like 40 contracts on it. That's 40 Bitcoin worth of volume. Now, not even 6 months later, we're looking at 2,300 contracts worth of volume. That is a huge, huge amount of growth. And that's just in the first 6 months, guys. Imagine where Bakkt could be 2 or 3 years from now. And you can say whatever you want about Bakkt being a good or a bad thing for cryptocurrency, but the fact is it's going to bring in a lot of customers from the New York Stock Exchange, from traditional finance markets, and it's also going to add a lot of trust to our ecosystem. The more big names that have a lot of trust behind them moving into cryptocurrency, the more of those companies that get involved in the blockchain space, the more people are going to trust the name Bitcoin. And at the end of the day, guys, everything that we're doing here with Bitcoin is nothing really more than a branded marketing campaign. And I mean, this is serious, guys. Look at this. TD Ameritrade wants to get into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading. A lot of companies do. We're talking big names like Starbucks. They want to get into cryptocurrency. Amazon one day, probably in the next 5 years, is going to step into the cryptocurrency space. And that leads me to my next point. The next thing I want to see happen on Bitcoin in these 5 years right here, these guys right in here, the next thing that I want to start see happening on Bitcoin are online merchants and retailers starting to accept Bitcoin payments along with credit card and PayPal. So the first point I was making is that I want to see the institutions step in, like TD Ameritrade, Bakkt, Starbucks, I guess is an institution, all of these institutions stepping into cryptocurrency, and I'll come back to that in a second. But another one of the big ones is Bitcoin payments being accepted alongside cash, credit card, and PayPal. And it won't take that long. I mean, there's still some infrastructure that needs to be built to allow Bitcoin payments in the way that credit card and PayPal payments are alongside of them. But that is a trend that is going to continue, and especially in this next bull market that is coming in the next year, just about no matter what, in my opinion. This next hype cycle that Bitcoin brings is going to bring about a lot of adoption for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies on the institutional and on the retail side. We're talking retail right now. Another thing I want to see, guys, in the next 5 years is I want to see some crystal clear regulation on the cryptocurrency sector. And guys, it's pretty cool because this is actually already happening. As you guys will know from our video about a week ago, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are going to the US Congress because we're finally getting a bill introduced to Congress seeking to define the regulatory landscape of the cryptocurrency market with cryptocurrencies, crypto securities, and crypto commodities, and which government institutions should regulate them. Now guys, like I say every time I bring up the government and crypto, I'm not a fan of the government being in crypto. I'm a pretty libertarian-minded guy myself. But the fact of the matter is the government is going to come in and they're going to get their grubby little paws on Bitcoin no matter what we do to try and stop them. So the best thing we can hope for is that it goes over well. And so far, this act, this bill that is being proposed, it looks pretty good. I'm excited about it. I hope it goes through. I'm happy with everything I know about it. Maybe I'm missing something, but so far it looks like a good bill and I'd like it to go through. Maybe Congress is going to be too busy working on something else or wasting their time on something else. But this is the kind of development I want to see. I want to see the government becoming much more clear on the regulatory landscape for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Reason being is that businesses are not going to want to work in the cryptocurrency market if they're going to have to walk on eggshells with everything that they do. If the cryptocurrency market is well regulated and understood and there's not really a lot of uncertainty, there's regulatory clarity, then companies are going to be much more happy to do business in cryptocurrency because they're not going to worry about the United States government coming and barking down their throat and arresting them and fining them. So as the government becomes more clear on how they're going to regulate this space, it's going to incentivize more fundamental development in the Bitcoin market, along with more institutions stepping into the space. One more thing I want to see, guys, and this is a big one. This might be the biggest of the 5 points I have outlined over here on my other monitor. The S&P 500, as you guys will probably know, has just hit all-time highs and is looking like it's just, I mean, this is just ridiculous. The S&P 500 is still blowing up. It's in blue sky breakout and has been for a few months now. We're over 300 points on this index, and we've been rallying here for the last 10 years, ever since 2009 when the financial crisis kind of ended. The reason stock markets are always rallying, the reason that stock markets are always reaching new highs is, one, because of economic development and economic growth, two, because the United States dollar is always losing valuation, so that makes it easier for these markets to rally. If you adjust for inflation, these markets are not rallying quite as much as they look. But three, a big reason why the S&P 500 and all these other indexes, like the DJI, we're talking about the Russell 2000, all these different indices, the reason that they're rallying so much is because people are putting money into them consistently, because guess what? These indexes, they have a basis of what is known as dollar cost averaging in the form of people's retirement. People are investing billions and billions and billions of dollars in traditional finance markets every single month because they keep putting money into their retirement and handing it over to Wall Street. This is going to be one of the biggest developments on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, is when people start putting their retirement in Bitcoin alongside stocks. Because what you have then is you have over 1 billion people saving for retirement, putting their money into some kind of index fund, into some kind of 401k or Roth IRA, however they want to invest their money, and then some of that money starts going into Bitcoin. Well, all of a sudden, what you basically have is you have tens or hundreds of millions of people on a subscription plan buying Bitcoin and providing a baseline of revenue for Bitcoin if you want to look at it as a business, or buying pressure if you want to look at it as a market. Either way, the trend that I want to see start in the next 5 years, it's not going to be fully developed in the next 5 years, but the trend I want to see start in the next 5 years is for people to start putting their money in retirement accounts that goes into Bitcoin. That is going to drive a lot of growth in this market, a whole lot of growth. We haven't reached that tipping point yet, but when we do, it's going to be huge. And finally, guys, one more thing that I want to see continue to develop over the next 5 years is the Lightning Network. I don't know if you guys remember back to 2017, but when Bitcoin was rallying very quickly here, as we got towards the end of this bull market, Bitcoin's blockchain got backed up to nearly 300,000 unconfirmed transactions. It was actually a little bit absurd. Some transactions were taking days to go through. I remember paying $51 in fees to send a transaction at one point because the blockchain was so clogged. If you guys go to the Lightning Network Explorer, then you can see the number of nodes and channels that have been developed in the Lightning Network. This is always growing. The interconnectivity of the Lightning Network is developing, and it looks like the next 5 years are going to be very, very good for this. I'm not getting into what the Lightning Network is right now, guys, but essentially Lightning Network will help facilitate micropayments so that we're not clogging up the blockchain with $5 transactions that cost $10 in fees. If Bitcoin is going to become a global currency, we're going to need a layer 2 scalability solution such as the Lightning Network, so I'm very happy to see how fast this is developing. But guys, at the end of the day, what matters is this. It doesn't even matter how quickly Bitcoin goes to $100,000 or how Bitcoin gets to $100,000 or what technicals are predicting $100,000, what fundamentals are going to develop Bitcoin to $100,000. What matters is us. Because look, we can look at technicals and fundamentals as much as we want. And frankly, guys, when we look at them, we start to see very, very bullish signs. The stock to flow model that has predicted Bitcoin so well over the last 5 to 10 years is predicting $100,000 Bitcoin before the end of 2023, let alone 2025. It's actually predicting a much higher valuation for Bitcoin than 100 grand by the time we hit 2025. There is every reason in the book to believe that Bitcoin is going to go north of $100,000, north of 6 figures. So at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter what the technicals say. It doesn't even matter whether or not Bitcoin is likely to go there, because I think it is very likely that Bitcoin is going to go there. What matters is us. What matters is how we approach this market and whether or not we decide to stick with it and persevere. Because like I said, guys, one thing I've learned in my life is that you can have the greatest opportunity at your fingertips and then throw it all away so quickly. So as we move into this new decade, let's remember that just about everything we do, if we stick with it long enough, could lead to results the likes of which we could have never even dreamed of. But it only will happen if we stick with it. And Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is a good example of that. If you guys do truly believe in the future of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency like I do, make sure you're putting your money where your mouth is. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to tell you what or when or how or where you should buy. But if you say you believe in Bitcoin, prove it. The next 5, 10, 20 years are looking very bullish for Bitcoin. I'm extremely happy about them. A lot of people have forgotten that I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin because we've been talking about short-term bearishness. That doesn't matter. Bitcoin has a bright future, and I've never wavered from that. So guys, I do hope you did enjoy today's video. If you did, consider hitting that like button down below. It really helps out the channel when you do that. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. We're trying to get to 30K subs, and I'd love to see us be able to achieve that before the new decade starts. And guys, also one thing that I don't mention very often is this. Hi, I'm Big Now. Down below, there are a lot of different affiliate links that help to support the channel. For example, there's NordVPN, Ledger, Binance, Coinbase, and TradingView. Those 5 affiliate links, I use every single one of those products, and I do highly recommend every single one of those products. When you use those links down below, you're normally going to be helping yourself out. For example, with NordVPN, that's a great link. You get a huge discount for using my link, and you're also helping to support the channel when you use those links. So if you need any of those products, use the links down below. I will remind you that it does give me a kickback when you use them, but normally it'll also give you a kickback. And it's a way to support the channel at no extra cost to yourself, while you might actually be saving a little bit of money. So if you're interested in any of those products, use the links down below. It will help us out. But anyway, guys, that is pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video. I do want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, though. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.